John, good to see you, sir.
Nice to see you. Nice chilly morning. It's a good day to stay inside.
Absolutely, a very winter day. Well, John, we're very interested in your service. Why don't you start out by telling us when you went in and why the Army?
Well, I went in February 15th, 1965, sworn in the federal building in Pittsburgh. Well, I graduated from high school in June 1964. I went to Penn State for a couple of semesters, but by the only thing I was doing there, I think, was spending my parents' money. So I thought, well, just might as well, do something else. So I thought, rather than get that greetings from Uncle Sam and then give me a rifle and say, have fun, it's like, no, I think I'll enlist.
Well, very good. So how long did you serve in the Army?
I was in for 4 years.
For 4 years. And what all sorts of things did you get to experience?
Well, I got to experience the three hills in Fort Knox called Agony, Misery, and Heartbreak.
Okay.
And it was a little chilly running around Fort Knox with no hair on your head in February and March. It was a little cold down there.
Yes, sir.
And when the drill sergeant was John Young Jr., he was probably about 6'3", 6'4", black man, and all muscle. And you're running along with an M14, doing double time M14 at port arms with a steel part on, a pack beating the heck out of your back, and the sergeants run along with you with a little plastic helmet liner, a pistol belt with a canteen on. And you like to die, but you're not going to let him show you up for anything. It's like, yeah, you're going to make it one way or another. I remember one time that he said, what's your serial number? This is when they had RA or US, or he got me for enough other stuff, but he said, he got about 2 inches from my face and, Ferguson, what's your serial number? Something in the back of my head say 0. So at that time it was RA 830-755. Who told you to say 0? I said, no one, Sergeant. He got me for another. He was ready to go up one side of me and down the other and spit me out little pieces for saying "oh," because most people say "oh" instead of 0. That was one time I listened to my brain save my backside.
That's good. So what'd you do after your initial training?
Well, after basic training, I was supposed to go to Fort Ben Harrison for computers. But I signed it's like, no, go on to Fort Sill for artillery. So, goes the OCS, and after going through the LPC course and stuff like that, like, no, I think I kind of pass on this stuff. Because my hearing was good enough to the left ear to get into the service. I might as well be Van Gogh right now because the left ear is totally shot. It's totally deaf. I can't hear out of that. And I figure if I stay in artillery, I'll probably be pretty deaf right now. So I think I'm glad I didn't go. And I ended up in personnel. Worked in personnel down at Fort Sill for a year. Well, I don't really like Fort Sill, so I said, okay, I'll re-up for 3 years. And I got federal going in Pittsburgh for testing section. Then one day I got promoted from PFC to Spec 4, or E4. Next day I got a little letter that says, hey, you're going to Fort Lewis, Washington, 3rd Brigade, 4th Infantry Division. So I went there and then got there first or 2nd of July 1966, 22nd of September 1966. Along with the rest of the 3rd Brigade, 4th Division, I boarded the USNS General Nelson M. Walker, took about a 2.5, 3-week boat ride to Vietnam. I went with them to, it's called Camp Bearcat and Camp Martin Cox, with the same base with near Benoit. I was there for about 3 months, and I went down to Saigon and MAC V2 course for the rest of my time there.
Oh, tell us about your time in Vietnam.
When we landed, it's like, yeah, it's a beautiful country. And I was in a base camp for a couple of months. And I get out of Saigon, and I think there was a little bit more to do in the base camp. least one got down to Saigon. Well, I saw a Bob Hope show on Christmas Eve, 1966, at Taunton Nude Air Base. And then when the Keystone BEQ was where we ate. Around the corner is Keystone Annex BEQ, where we stayed. Then went back with Todd and Veterans Breakfast Club in February 2020. And we were riding along on the bus with, oh, we can't go here where Phil was. There's a military base now, and the base couldn't, the bus couldn't take us down past where I used to work because they had to get to the airport to get somebody. So they dropped us off at the hotel. And Todd and Con was guide, and I took a taxi down to where I used to be. They dropped us off, I believe, in like 200 block at Tranhung Dow Street. Walked down about another block. I looked over. It's like, the place is still there. The Keystone BEQ was still there. The building, I was shocked. And then right next to it was the gas station. That's gone. That's a big 20-story high rise. Now around the corner, like, I was blown away that where I stayed at Keystone Annex BEQ was still there. They hadn't changed. I'd like to go where we were going to take some pictures, and Con said, no, you can't take pictures here. You have to go down the street a little bit. So, okay, went down the street a little bit. I'd love to go in there and see my old room. I knew exactly where it was. But the only way I go in there now is in handcuffs because it's now a police station. So I never got to go in there.
Sounds to me like a good thing to skip. Well, you went on that Veterans Breakfast Club trip then with Todd DiPastino and crew. Well, you probably saw more of Vietnam on that tour than you did on your first tour.
Oh, definitely.
So what'd you think of Vietnam today versus when you were there 40, 50 years ago?
Well, I could wear shorts. When we landed in Hanoi, it was a windbreaker and long pants and a long sleeve shirt. The first couple of days after that was shorts and t-shirts the whole time. But I'm glad I got to see more of the country. But to me, landing in Hanoi looked like Pittsburgh in the mid-1950s, all the pollution coming in from China. It was definitely nice country. There was, I guess, a lot of people. It's like veterans of Vietnam. It's like there's no way you couldn't pay me enough to go back there. I was in personnel, so I didn't have too hard a time. But I can see like people in the infantry and stuff like that. So I had too many bad memories that I don't want to go back. But for some reason, I always wanted to go back to Vietnam.
So are you glad you did?
Definitely glad I did. I'd like to, if they have another trip, I'd like to go on that, but that's definitely not going to be this year, maybe a couple of years from now, but I'd like to go back again.
Well, what sort of things did you do while you were working personnel when you were in Vietnam?
Well, it was in the unit that took care of officers that were assigned to MAC V. It was from lieutenants up to lieutenant colonels, and another person, a couple other people took care of bird colonels and generals. Their personnel records was, you type in the stuff. This is way pre-computer. We sat behind a desk and be on a typewriter, call ourselves Remington's Raiders for Remington typewriters. It was there, you had to type all their, like, they got decorations or promotions or units reassigned. You have to update their records to all the whatever was happening to them and their assignments in Vietnam.
So mostly you were at the Remington typewriter and processing records and not so much contact with people.
Yeah, that was a yes. Sit behind a desk and on a typewriter.
Okay. Well, after you came home from Vietnam, what did you do?
Well, I came home from, well, I kind of wish I would have stayed one more week. I left the 22nd of September, 1966. I got orders, okay, you're leaving the 14th of September, 1967. As like, if I was, and then in the Army, for every 6 months, you get an overseas bar. I ended up with one overseas bar because I was 1 week short of a second one. I wish I would stay for a second one.
Okay.
Then
Kind
when
of
I
hard to
came
fix
back, I
that
was
now.
a little too late for that.
Sure.
But when I came back, I was assigned to U.S. Army Support Detachment in Oakdale, PA. I worked in personnel there. And I was there for, I forgot how many months, and I went to the education, worked for a person named Horace Belmere, was in charge of education, took care of all the education records for everybody, the Army Support Detachment, all the units around Pittsburgh. So another personnel, or what I call it now, called human resources job. And I stayed there till I was discharged on a 20. My discharge date was the 23rd of February, 1968. No, 1969.
Well, were you pleased to leave the Army, or do you wish you'd stayed longer?
Well, I was thinking of staying longer, but this other person had, it's like, I don't know if the person who was in charge of the AG there was in, I don't know if he was buddies with another person. I was like, I was going to stay in. There was an opening for a staff sergeant. I thought, if I'll get that, I'll stay in. But it's like somebody else got it. So I thought, no, I think I'll go back into civilian life.
Well, what'd you do then after you went back into civilian life?
I went back into civilian life and worked at the Canonsburg Pottery Company, which is no longer in existence, in Canonsburg, PA, which wasn't too far from where I lived. And then I was there till the first part of March till the end of July or beginning of August, because I got married on 9th of August, 1969. Now, most people say, oh, the husband doesn't remember when you got married and the wife does. It's like, well, my wife can never remember when I got married. And I definitely remember, because fortunately, when he got married, it was in the evening, because the rain came down in buckets the whole day. So then we got married, and I moved to Ingram, PA, where I live now. And after we came back from home, I started working for Mellon Bank.
Well, wonderful. Well, it's interesting, to be from the Pittsburgh area, and yet a lot of your time in the Army with testing and at the Federal Building in Pittsburgh, and then working personnel records at Oakdale, that you also served a lot of your time in the Army in this area. Did you ask for that, or just happen, or how'd you work that?
Well, when I was leaving Vietnam, I wanted to know where you wanted to go, and I put Pittsburgh area and a couple other places, and I ended up in Oakdale.
Well, I actually got your first choice.
I don't remember it was my first choice or second choice, but it's like, that's not bad. So I just drive to work every day.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, are you glad you volunteered to go in the Army instead of waiting to be drafted, or?
Yes, definitely. I was saying, okay, Marines are 4 years, and like all are 4 years, and it's like, I'll take 3 years in the Army, but then to get out of Oklahoma, I re-up for 3 years. So I ended up spending 4 years, and no matter whatever branch I would have gone out, it was 4 years.
Well, if you had to do it all over again, would you join the Army again?
I would definitely join the military again. When I was at Penn State, I was in Air Force ROTC unit, but when I left Penn State, it's like, well, what am I going to do now? So I ended up joining the Army.
Well, would you recommend other people to pursue some time in the armed forces? Got a lot of young folks today.
Yes, I would say join the Army, or join the military. I went Saturday, came back yesterday from my son's in Ohio. He has, the youngest one, Joseph's only not going to be 3 till June, but Jonathan said, "Oh, there's only one of my kids wants to join the military." My granddaughter, Morgan, well, she'll be 11 in March. She wants to join the Air Force. So I just talked to Jonathan this morning. He said, "I'm really going to feel old when I go with a recruiter when Morgan is 17 and says she wants to join the Air Force."
Well, good. Anything else you'd like to share with us about your time in the military or what you learned from it?
Well, one thing I know is like after I got out of basic training, I was in the best shape I was ever in my life. You get in shape or else. Some people gain weight, some lost weight. I went in 145 pounds. I came out 145 pounds. And the other thing that what I was on is in Petrolia in Du Bois, PA, in Warwood, West Virginia. I was on firing squads for 3 military funerals. Then one Friday they said, "Would you like to be a body escort?" Well, I saw what body escort did. It didn't seem too bad. I said, "Okay." And James Leroy Wise Jr. from Big Run, PA, was a little bit north of Punxsutawney, was KIA in South Vietnam. So I went after I signed the papers at Oakdale to get my travel vouchers and all that stuff. I went home to change and got a ride to the airport. It's like, that was the 22nd of March was when I started that assignment. The middle service was the 27th of March, was on Wednesday. That was I'd say, easiest job I ever had in the Army. But I don't think there's a day goes by. I don't think of that. Easiest job, but it's still running through my head. I mean, how you bring a soldier home to his parents in a casket? That was really hard.
So did you get to visit with the parents?
Yes.
So where did you fly to escort the body home?
Well, we flew from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, then got a taxi to Dover, Delaware. Then we were picked up at Dover, Delaware. And then we got bus from Philadelphia Airport to Dover, taxi to the base, Dover Air Base, and stayed there overnight. And the train the next day on the Saturday. And what we were supposed to do and make sure all your brass was shining, your uniforms was clean, all that stuff. And then it had about 6 or 7 of us. They put us on a military vehicle, dropped a couple people off at the airport, were escorting their bodies, and they dropped the other ones off at the Philadelphia train station. We took a train from Philadelphia to Altoona, PA, where we were supposed to meet the funeral director, Jess McCracken from Big Run, PA, but he was unavailable because there was an accident near there, was killed a girl from that town. So I met another gentleman that worked for him and Jess's son. And we transferred the body from the train to the hearse, took it to the funeral home. And then it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We got back to the funeral home and made sure everything was set up, draped the flag over the casket. And I went upstairs to sleep. Probably woke up about 11 o'clock in the morning. I had met the parents later that day. It was really tough talking to the parents and the brothers and sisters. But bring a person home. But I remember the Army said, I was talking to Jim's mother. A few years later, he said, do you know why they opened the casket? The Army said, no, it's closed casket, no matter what. The father said, I want to see him. When the funeral director opened the casket, well, Jim's mother, his father didn't tell you, but Jim's mother said, his father, someone saw him, he said, thank God, I never knew what hit him. It was instantaneous. That's one thing I'll never forget.
That's pretty unforgettable. So were you there for the funeral and those things?
Yes.
Or yeah?
Yes. Well, I know if they asked me to be body escort again, I'll tell them to stick it in their ear. There's no way I would do that again.
Yeah, once was enough for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Hard
thought
work.
I'd just be sitting with the family. They said, oh, they want me to, when the preacher was giving the eulogy, I was standing by, they wanted me to stand guard of the casket, which I did. And it seemed like forever. It was probably only about 10 minutes, but it seemed like a lot longer.
Sure.
And he was buried at the American Legion section of Punxsutawney. I forget what the name of the cemetery is, but it's in Punxsutawney. Is where his final resting place is.
Well, that's certainly a very memorable experience. I would speculate that's probably the most memorable experience that you had while you were in the Army.
That's the one thing. Like I said, that was the easiest job I ever had. Definitely the toughest. That was 1968, and that's a way over. It's pushing almost 55 years ago, and it still sticks with me.
Yes. Is there anything else from your military experience that you'd like to share?
Well, I remember, well, I think probably everybody from the probably brigade commander on down going to Vietnam was probably getting a little squeezy because a bunch of dog faces aren't used to being on the water, especially for about 2.5 weeks or so. Well, I know it was a nice smooth trip over there. No rocking or anything like that.
Did you leave any of the graffiti on the bunks?
I don't remember leaving any. My wife said she can't imagine me doing anything like that. I can't remember leaving any graffiti on there.
Yeah. For those of you that join us, we had a Veterans Breakfast Club program not very long ago about the walker and preserving that as artwork when people drew graffiti and pictures and sayings on the bunks while they were en route from the States to Vietnam, which I would imagine folks have been pretty apprehensive on that trip. Were you?
I think so, yes. I don't think not quite as much as the combat arms. One thing I remember when I was in base camp with 3rd Brigade, 4th Division, I was in personnel, or not called human resource, and a couple of people had to go out in the field, get the military to fill out, the infantry to fill out some forms, and they came, a couple of people, I can't remember what their names were, but they came back. It's like, and those two was like, felt like they said they felt like somebody hit them right in the gut because they got back. About an hour or so later, they found out the unit they went out to get forms filled out were in a firefight. And a couple of people they just seen them, like they said, I just saw them about an hour ago. They were KIA.
Yeah.
So that really hit them. It's like, wait a minute, I was just talking to this person, now he's dead.
Yeah, it's very disconcerting. Well, John, one of the things that Veterans Breakfast Club does is would like for non-veterans, people who haven't served, to know more about military service. Anything that you could offer about how we could better tell non-veterans about military life and service?
I just think of if they go on the like websites for VFW or American Legion, there would be some more information there, more than I can provide them. Or the VBC or VVA, go on their websites, there's more information on there than I can come up with.
Okay, very good. Have you been
If they
active?
know,
Have you been active in veterans organizations like the Veterans of Foreign Wars or the American Legion? I know you're active
Yes.
in Veterans Breakfast Club.
yes, one of Veterans Breakfast Club, I'm a member of VVA Chapter 862, which meets up in Rochester, PA.
Right.
It's the third largest chapter in the U.S. At the VFW post in McKees Rocks. Right now, currently I'm the chaplain down there, and then that's a post 418 in McKees Rocks, and American Legion post 145 in Crafton. I was the commander last year, and with all this COVID stuff, instead of new elections, let's roll over, so I get to be commander again this year.
Well, that's keeping you fully employed then with the Legion and the VFW.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, all the stuff you have to go through, with learning about the VVA and the Vietnam veterans, and VFW and American Legion.
Have you found the veterans organizations to be helpful to you personally?
Yes.
Good.
A lot of camaraderie there when you meet with your fellow vets, and if you're not in a meeting, you just sit around and talk and sort of reminisce about old times and stuff they went through and stuff you went through.
Okay, well, John, I sure do appreciate you sharing with us today, and look forward to this being released so other people can enjoy it. So you have a very good day, sir.
Okay, you too.